Good evening, Carlos and Fernanda.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We're here at the end of the International Summit on Child Protection, and I just thought to wrap up the day, we could just have a conversation about the day, about GLO.ACT. So maybe to start off with, I'll introduce myself, who you know, GLO.ACT Project Coordinator. I've flown in from Vienna for this really important summit. And perhaps for the audience, introduce yourselves, your role, and then I'll ask you a few questions, about the summit. So, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Carlos Andrés Pérez. I am the National Project Officer for GLO.ACT implementation here in Unodc, Colombia.
My name is Fernanda Fuentes. I am the National Program Officer for GLO.ACT Brazil.
So GLO.ACT, just for the benefit of the audience, it's a huge project. It's a project, across 4 continents: Latin America, Africa, Asia, and Eastern Europe. We're working in 13 countries. So maybe as a start, the project has been running for 2.5 years now. What specifically has been your highlights?
Okay, GLO.ACT is a really good experience. It's a really community of practice. So we are working together in the region, in Latin America, for example, Unodc office in Colombia, Unodc office in Brazil, and we are implementing not just national plan of actions, we are also implementing regional actions. So, for example, last year we supported the creation of the Ibero-American Network for Prosecutors on Human Trafficking and the Smuggling of Migrants, and now we are supporting also this network to provide training and to exchange information among countries that are part of this network of prosecutors.
Great. And Fernanda, it's Brazil and Colombia in terms of the 2 countries within Latin America. So we have Fernanda here who perhaps will tell us a highlight.
Okay, but first of all, it was very interesting because GLO.ACT came to our country a moment when we really needed it. It was a moment of transition. We're going into darker times in Brazil, and GLO.ACT actually allowed for the policy of anti-trafficking to be able to keep advancing. With what we're seeing right now, we're seeing a lot of backlash on some moving back in a lot of the policies or social policies and rights. But one of the things that GLO.ACT was able to maintain was not only to defend the institutions that were already in place, but we have even been able to move ahead. A classic example of this is the Third National Plan of Action Against Trafficking in Persons. This is a plan that's going to run for 4 years. This is a plan that's going to guide the next 4 years of how the country is going to face trafficking and how these responsibilities are going to be divided and how this is going to be faced. So this was something really important for us. Not only that, but I think GLO.ACT was also able to help at local level, not only at federal level, but local level also. So I was able to go and work at the borders. We were able to face a humanitarian crisis, or at least try to help in some way what was happening over there. We were also able to work with different organizations. That was something very interesting because each one works from a different perspective when they're facing trafficking in persons. So the fact of using so many different organizations that are part of the network was something extremely rich. So we were able to at least focus on different aspects of trafficking in persons.
Excellent. I sit here as GLO.ACT Project Coordinator, and you raised one thing about the local level. And GLO.ACT really is functioning on a premise of a global approach, but a local ownership. So I think it's been really great collaborating myself from headquarters, and I think with the team that is spread across, the globe. So I personally want to thank you in terms of your efforts, on the ground. But before we conclude, I'm here this week because of the International Summit on Child Protection. We spent 2 days, and just wanted to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Okay, this was a very important activity for us. The first time that we have the honor to have all the special guests from different parts of the world trying to get agreements and to get some conclusions on the work that the world need to implement against child sexual exploitation. So there is a call to action for future. So we as UNODC and as a GLO.ACT, part of GLO.ACT in this part of the world, we are really committed to work very hard on the implementation of this call to action to transform this declaration in reality. So we are in Colombia, we are very engaged with this idea of to implement activities to combat child sexual exploitation.
Okay. And my participation here, I think, was very symbolic and very special, especially because what we're trying to show is not only that GLO.ACT works in countries individually, but we do work together. Yeah. We've been very close ever since this began, not only as friends, but also we've been working together. I feel like we're part of the same team. And regarding the summit, this was extremely interesting also because we were able to network and also think in projects, not just thinking at local level, but also at regional level. For example, something that we could do with a triple border with Colombia, Peru, Brazil. All these things were allowed within the summit because it congregated so many countries and so many actors from the different countries.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to end on something, and it wasn't planned, but I want to hear the translation in Spanish and Portuguese. So in GLO.ACT, what do we say? Hear their voices, act to protect. How would you say it in Spanish and how would you say it in Portuguese? I don't know if it would sound quite the same.
Escucha las voces, actúa para proteger.
Escuta suas vozes e atua para proteger.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret.
Done.